Okay, it's important before we start that I set the stage for us here. It has been 531 days since our last Nintendo Direct. Now, Nintendo had a real quiet 2020. Honestly, if it wasn't for the almost embarrassing level of success that New Horizons brought them due to the fact that it released day and date basically with the COVID-19 pandemic, they might have been in trouble financially speaking. There are so many projects in Nintendo's workshop that have been announced, rumored, speculated, or otherwise rumbled about within the game sphere over the last few years. Breath of the Wild 2, Super Mario Odyssey 2, a Zelda 35th Anniversary Collection akin to Super Mario 3D All-Stars, Bayonetta 3, Metroid Prime 4, Metroid Prime HD Collection, a Metroid side-scroller. Damn, y'all are thirsty for some Metroid. Now, because Nintendo neglected to showcase anything during the makeshift E3 period of last summer, and due to the fact that we haven't gotten a legitimate Nintendo Direct in such a long time, I think it's fair to say that people were really excited about this and had high expectations. So of course the question is, did Nintendo deliver?
The DC superhero girls are here to save the day.
Hi everyone, my name's Barbara Gordon.
I can't be too hard on Nintendo. These are the guys that made Chibi Robo. I mean, just look at him, he's beautiful. But the reactions from the community over the last few days seem to point towards this Direct being a little underwhelming. And I would say that criticism's fair. I mean, people went in anticipating Breath of the Wild 2 and got Skyward Sword. But just because this Direct was missing those big, chunky, heavy hitters that folks were hoping for, doesn't mean that we don't have any announcements worth talking about. Starting off from the top, Sakurai gave us the announcement of Pyra and Mythra as the next DLC characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighter Pass. Man, I don't know how they do it, but somehow Nintendo has always been able to bury the lead with these Smash teasers. Maybe I'm just like a gullible idiot, but time after time they have bamboozled your boy. They must have had the Monolith Soft team create these cutscenes in-engine, because I could have sworn this was going to be some announcement regarding DLC for Xenoblade. It looked too legit. While I haven't beaten it, I have spent some quality time with Chronicles 2 and fallen in love with the game's world and characters. Some time ago, Sakurai announced the game's main character, Rex, would be joining the game's roster in the form of a Mii Fighter costume. I thought, okay, that's it then. They're skipping out on representing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Smash Ultimate. That's fine. But it's always refreshing when Sakurai hits us with the,
"You know what? You thought wrong."
Now, as a fighter, it's strange, but it didn't even occur to me that this is yet another anime swordsman in Smash. Maybe it's just because I happen to have an appreciation for the character that I didn't seem to mind. Or maybe I'm just so jaded by the number of anime swordsmen that I'm just unfazed at this point.
Fall Guys is coming to Switch. I'm still pretty perplexed at how two of the biggest games last year just so happened to feature these weird off-brand Teletubbies, but just like Among Us, this game definitely deserves a spot on the Switch. It feels right at home. Great to see Mario Golf make a return. I actually recently played some Toadstool Tour, and honestly, if Nintendo can even capture 80% of the personality of that game, they'll have a solid game on their hands. The last Mario sports game we got, Mario Tennis Aces, was an interesting one. It looked to me like it was certainly the most complete Mario Tennis experience that Nintendo's ever shipped, but it also struck me as not being worth $60 in 2020. Like, maybe that's just because a tennis game can only provide so much variety and my standards has just gotten higher over the years, but that's just how I felt about it. Golf feels like a meatier, more substantial experience than tennis, and I feel like it's ripe with more potential as a video game. The solo campaign looks great. I love seeing the RPG elements they've incorporated and seeing the Miis make a comeback. I'm telling you, the Miis are coming back in a big bad way, you guys. The announcement of that speed golf mode was super refreshing to see. I'm really interested to hear more about this mode. You know, is it something that's really fleshed out with character-specific strategies and abilities, or is it just some hamstrung gimmick to provide something to market the game on? I guess only time will tell. Now, I'm not familiar with No More Heroes. I've never actually given the franchise a shot, but This game might change that. The gameplay looks super stylish and varied. My only reservation would be that I'm curious to see how this game fares to new players. Either way, this one is definitely one to look out for. Next up, a brand new announcement from Annapurna. They're the folks that made that Outer Wilds game. Neon White grabbed my attention in this direct for sure. The Switch is at a major deficit for first-person shooters, and with one as stylish as this, I feel like it's such a great fit. You know, it put me in mind of Mirror's Edge with that sort of minimalist cel-shaded aesthetic. If they can successfully marry this exciting run-and-gun movement while also creating a vibrant, interesting game world, these guys will be in business. Alright, here we go. This one was really out of left field. Metopia. For anyone who missed it, this is a game where you assign all your Mii characters to different roles and the story plays out like a fantasy RPG. Nintendo first experimented with this idea with the free Street Pass game Find Me on the 3DS, you might have played it. It went over so well as a free little pack-in game that they actually decided to expand that idea and put out Metopia a few years down the line. But as I recall, it was released with little fanfare and performed quite modestly. I never got a chance to play the original on 3DS, and I know this one is right down my alley, so I'm excited to finally give this one a shot for $50. Oh man.
Nintendo's gonna Nintendo.
Next up, Animal Crossing New Horizons was given some representation here in the form of information regarding the Mario Day items being added to the game. It's pretty much exactly what I had expected to see from New Horizons with this update, aside from the mind-bending inclusion of fully functional warp pipes. I can't imagine how long that took to get that working within the game's engine, but I mean, shout out to the team for this accomplishment, because chef's kiss. It's beautiful. Out of all the games in the Animal Crossing franchise, I think New Horizons was definitely the time for them to start including these interactive game items. I think it won't be long before we see entire Mario-themed obstacle courses making smart use of these items. I'm really excited to see people go nuts with this. Now here we go. The next big announcement came straight from the mouth of Aonuma, the producer of the Zelda series. Every Zelda fan all across the globe gasped in unison when he popped up on that elusive black background. And then he proceeded to crush all of our dreams with a machete.
I'm sure a lot of you saw me and thought there might be news about the sequel to The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild game. Unfortunately, we don't have anything to share right now.
This honestly felt like such a tease. I think for this situation, just flat out showing the trailer first and then having Aonuma extrapolate on it would have made for a much smoother transition. Either way, Skyward Sword HD is coming to the Switch.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I say Skyward Sword HD? No, what I meant to say was Skyward Sword in HD. that was a close one.
Skyward Sword is already one of my favorite looking Zelda games, but this strikes me as a real missed opportunity. This version is HD in the way that Mario Galaxy and 3D All-Stars is HD. Sure, it's output in an enhanced resolution, but at least from where I'm standing, it doesn't seem to have any modified textures, significantly reworked character models, or any major visual overhauls at all to earn that HD subtitle. Look at Wind Waker on the GameCube. This is one of the most beautiful games of all time. Oh wait, never mind. Look at Wind Waker HD on the Wii U. Oh, come on, man. That's how you make a HD, alright? My only hope at this point is that Skyward Sword HD can take those steps to rectify the myriad of tedious gameplay issues that held down the original. There's a masterpiece of a Zelda game present in Skyward Sword. Nintendo just has to trim some of the theoretical fat that this game struggles with. Now last but not least, but also certainly not most, Nintendo announced Splatoon 3 will be coming to the Switch sometime in 2022. I, like most people, didn't foresee a sequel to Splatoon on the Switch, seeing as though they literally have been supporting Splatoon 2 with updates and Splatfests up until, say, last month. All I have to say about Splatoon 3 is that it needs to take some big swings and move the franchise in a fresh direction. Just having the Inklings shoot onto the stage out of cubes does not count. I'm glad to see that they seem to be embracing this new aesthetic. The muted colors of the post-apocalyptic Borderlands style seems like it could pair well with the bright, vibrant, and colorful gameplay of Splatoon. In the back of my mind, I've always sort of wished for an open-world Tony Hawk Pro Skater style cityscape for you to traverse and explore around in Splatoon. Imagine something akin to the Bowser's Fury style of world, but with less jumping and stomping and more splatting and swimming.
And that's it for the major Nintendo Direct headlines. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that it was kind of nice to return back to this full-fat, meaty Nintendo Direct format. As a fan, it's so much more fun to get excited about these reveals in this format rather than just getting a teaser thrown up on Twitter like we've gotten recently. I hope that Nintendo continues to embrace this format, which they probably will because they basically owned Twitter for the whole week. Now, as for the future, we already know that Breath of the Wild 2 is going to get shown off sometime later this year, which I honestly think is a pretty appropriate time given the fact that we just saw Age of Calamity and it feels like it's too soon to return to that world. I believe that Animal Crossing Year 2, or version 2.0, or whatever you want to call it, I believe that update is coming. I just think it's going to be shown off at a later date, probably early March, considering the fact that March 20th would be the 1-year anniversary of that game. We could probably expect to see that on Twitter at some point soon. And as for the future of the Metroid series, it'll come when it comes. You know what, Nintendo? Just take all the time you need. We know you're still hiring people for that team, I guess. Anyway, that is going to do it for this video. Now's the part where I want to hear from you. What was your favorite announcement or least favorite announcement from the Nintendo Direct? And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, what are you waiting for? Show me some love down below, like and subscribe for more, and I will see you next time. Charging $50 for Metopia. Oh my god.